Hello readers and writers, I'm MJ and today we're doing the Indie Book Tag. So this is a new tag that I'm very excited about. It was created by Chelsea Zhao over at her channel that I will link down below, and she tagged me and here I am. So I'm excited about this tag because it is a way to celebrate indie authors and indie books and kind of make other people aware of what's out there. And in celebration, I am wearing the Immortal Part of Myself hoodie that I have. Because my kid wanted to see their artwork on a hoodie, we ended up buying ourselves one as a splurge. And if you do not know, they make all the artwork for my book covers, and I will go ahead and link their Instagram channel down below also, because they are an animator on Instagram, and as they are graduating from high school, they will be pursuing that more full-time, so it's a great time to go check them out. Not like I'm giving a plug or anything. So there are 15 book prompts in this tag, and I have to admit, when I first watched the video, I was like, how am I going to come up with books for all of these prompts? And then I went and looked through the prompts and looked at all the indie books I have. I became very excited about the books that I have not yet picked up but are sitting on my e-reader to read. And two, realize that there's just so many amazing indie books that I have read, that I want to read, that 15 prompts is just not enough. So hopefully at some part there will be a part 2 of this tag, or someone will do a different variation of it, because we just really need to celebrate indie authors and indie books more than we are. So I hope you find a new book to read while listening to this tag, or watching this tag, whatever. So the first prompt is, do you have a book that has water on the cover? And I do. It is an ebook called A Sea of Blood and Tears, and it's one I recently picked up because the premise of it sounds very interesting, and I have not yet read it, but I'm very excited to read it. And the second prompt is, do you have an indie book with a weapon on the cover? I have so many indie books with weapons on the cover that I had to just pick one, and I ended up picking I Am Not Your Chosen One, and this is one of the Rainbow Crate exclusive special editions that they do for indie books. And as you can see right here, there's a battle axe on the cover. Prompt number 3 is, do you have an indie book with a body part on the cover? And this can be any sort of body part, so many of my books qualify, but I wanted to find one that had, I don't know, something a little special for it, and so I selected Shadow Within, and because they have a special eye. And this is one of the books that I was so excited when I picked it up and forgot about it. And so I'm very excited for this prompt, because now I can move this up higher on my TBR. In fact, I'm going to create a special folder on my e-reader specifically for indie books so they stop getting lost. The next book is, do you have an indie book with a pretty naked hardcover? And I have so many that would qualify for this, because Rainbow Crate does an amazing job releasing special editions for indie books, and every single one of them is gorgeous. So any of the indie books that I show that are Rainbow Crate editions, and the ones that I'm not showing because they didn't quite have enough prompts for them, they would all qualify for this. But I did decide to go with 16 Souls. And if you take off, besides the beautiful map on the inside, if you take off the cover, there is this amazing style, and then the quote on the back. And I absolutely love how they do their books. But again, any book from that Rainbow Crate is putting out would qualify for these. The next book is, do you have a book that you bought purely because of the cover? And like when I read this prompt, I knew that there was a book. It's one that I had seen advertised on Instagram, and I had to pick it up because it's such a beautiful cover, and I am a sucker for green, in case you haven't been able to tell. And this is such a gorgeous green cover. And have I read it? No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to the author too. I have not yet picked it up. Oh, hey, look at that. The book is Awakening, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I haven't picked it up yet. It's a fantasy book that sounds absolutely fantastic, and it's one that, again, I need to prioritize. The next prompt is, do you have a book that you can be read on Kindle Unlimited? And quite a lot of the books that I'm presenting today can be read on Kindle Unlimited, but I'm going to go ahead and slip in The Immortal Part of Myself by M.J. James, an indie book written by a non-binary autistic author who had this version of the book available on Kindle Unlimited, and reading it on Kindle Unlimited helps all indie authors because at least it gets some sort of funds in, but also purchasing the book straight out helps also. So yes, I've liked my own book. Oh well. So prompt number 7 is, do you have an indie book that you originally read as an ebook or audiobook and then just had to buy a physical copy? And so for this prompt, I am using The Bruising of Kilwa, and I read this originally as an ebook, and then when Rainbow Kate announced that it was releasing its digital versions, I had to go and pick it up. So because I wanted to have a beautiful physical copy of it. And you see what I mean, that all of them qualify as beautiful hardcovers. Prompt number 8 is, do you have an indie book that you think needs more readers? I think all indie books need more readers. I think readers should give them a chance. Go check out the previews on Amazon. Read the first bit of it to see if it's something that's going to jive with them. Don't discount a book just because it is indie published, because so many authors need to go indie published just to actually make any sort of money as publishing, or because the traditional publishing is also so limited for the voices that they will publish. To publish outside the mainstream voice, it takes a lot of luck. So turning to indie publishing is one way to do that, and authors put a lot of time and attention and love into their books in order to get them to the point where they're ready to be published. At least most authors do. And so I would definitely, go check out the indie books to see if they're one that you're interested in, and if so, then support the author by purchasing it or reading it via Kindle Unlimited. But specifically for this prompt, I am going to say, if I can pronounce it correctly, Tabula Smargina, The Destiny Thief. So it's Russian, I believe. And so this book is one that I read that was good, but didn't 100% jive with me. Personally. Part of it, I think there was a time issue with the book, but that was kind of minor. But it's just, most of the type of book wasn't necessarily my book. But as I was reading this book, everything that kept running through my mind is, all of those fans of Sarah J. Maas need to pick this up. Like, all of those readers, there's so many of them all over Instagram, all over everywhere, and this would be the perfect book for them to read if they want to pick up an indie author. And so what I think all indie books should have more authors. This is one that I think that I could think of a specific reader group that this would be a perfect fit for. So prompt number 9 is, do you have a book that started as an indie but has since been picked up by a traditional publisher? So I'm going to go with Olivia Blake. Specifically Alone with the Ether, although any of Olivia Blake's books would work, because I think all of the ones currently being released were all originally indie published. And I know some people jive with her work and other people do not, but I think it is kind of cool to see how originally publishing as an indie author can allow some people to break through to traditional publishing to get more people to see their work. And it is not every indie author's dream to be picked up by a traditional author, but if Tor ever reached out to me, I would fan people. I'm not gonna lie. Can you have a fandom for a publisher? Because I'm not the only one, right? Tor is like, okay. Moving on. Number 10. Do you have an indie book that was released in the last year? So I am kind of flubbing this one a little bit, just a little bit. So because this book actually is going to be released at July 1st. So it hasn't been released within the last year. It's being released within a year, within this year. That works, right? I'm going with it. And this is The Artifacts of Eternity, and this is one that I am ARC reading for because the author actually did the re-edit of In Between for me, and amazingly cool dude, and I checked out the first part of the book. I haven't finished reading it yet, but I'm doing that this month. I know he is an amazing writer, and I really appreciate the work he did on In Between. When I released In Between, it was good, but I felt like it needed to be polished a little bit more to be the best that it could be, and so he worked with me to make it even better, and I really appreciate his help with that. But also as a writer in his own right, this book sounds so amazing, and so I want to plug it. So anyone who likes science fiction should go check it out. And again, it's releasing July 1st. And that, just to go back to show the time and care that indie authors do to their book, because if our book is not the best that it can be, so many of us go back to make it better. So number 11 is, do you have an indie book outside of your usual genre? And for this one, I want to do The Lord of Freedom. And this is an amazing book that is fantasy. So obviously I really like fantasy, but specifically for this book, it is very religious in nature, and I am not a very religious person, so I really respect the religiosity of the book and just the wholesomeness of it, while like all these bad things are happening and yet the book itself is really wholesome, and that's not something I normally would go for. Also the author is absolutely amazing. We know each other through Instagram, and she's an absolutely amazing person. So if you really like wholesome fantasy, you really need to go check out The Bell Tolling. There's also I think it's a companion novel that she just released to it as well, and it's just such a wholesome book. It makes me, like, reading it makes me feel like my characters are kind of just horrible beings. But there we go. And you should actually go read it. Alright, prompt 12. Do you have an indie book that is less than 200 pages? And for this, I'm going with The Eidolon, and this is the first in a trilogy that I got from Rainbow Crate. Is one of their first special editions that were not in a box, and this is like 190 something pages, so it just fits. So I haven't read it yet. I was supposed to read the first novel before the trilogy this month, and it didn't happen, but it will happen eventually. There's just so many books, you know. So the next question, chapter 13, is, do you have an indie book that is a comic or graphic novel? And this is a great question, and my answer to it is no, I do not. So I've spoken about this a little bit, but basically I don't read a lot of manga or graphic novels. There's no real reason for it. I just really grew up on prose. And that's just always been my thing ever since I was a little kid. I don't remember ever even reading picture books. I read chapter books for as long as I can remember. And I think that's probably at least partially an autism thing. Not every autistic person, but some of us. And, but I am getting more into graphic novels and mangas. One, because it's a really great way to like merge mine and my youngest kids' interests. So they are an artist that I've already plugged. They've done the cover to my books, and they really love arts and animation and that kind of form. And then I obviously really love books, and so graphic novels and manga are a way for us to kind of merge those interests together. So right now, any graphic novel or manga book that they read, I will be reading after them. So you'll definitely start seeing some more come into my wrap-ups. But I have not really gone and invested in indie authors themselves. I probably really should. But my main investment really is in my kid as an author and getting them set up to be successful at what they want to do. And again, I'm going to plug their channel down below, so if you really are into an up-and-coming non-binary autistic artist who obviously does amazing work, even though this is outside what their normal preference is, they still were able to do this for me and collaborate with me on it. But so go check out their author, or go check out their channel, and it eventually, at some point they will be releasing their own whenever they feel ready and to do so. But I should also support more indie graphic novel. So if you know any specifically that are queer and autistic, will you let me know down in the comments so that I can go check them out? I would appreciate that. Alright, so prompt number 14. Do you have an indie book that you have reviewed? Well, yes, any of the ones that I have read, I have reviewed. Well, most of the ones I've read, I have reviewed. I still need to catch up on a few of the reviews. But I'm going to go ahead and say How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager, because this is one that I've kind of put all over all of my social media channels, mostly because I've fallen in love with this author, Dee and Bryn. They are amazing. I love their books. They're also autistic, and the sequel, or the companion novel to this, has an autistic main character, and I started reading it when my Kindle Unlimited subscription lapsed, and I need to go buy it in digital, but I'm kind of just waiting for Rainbow Crate to announce that they're going to release it so that I have a matching pair and read it that way. So we'll see what happens first. I might just do both. But I have gushed about this book because it's not something I traditionally would like. It's kind of new adult and it's very romance. But the way it was presented is something I still really meshed with, even though I'm not much into people hooking up. In general, like relationships, not just like the traditional sense of how people use that word. I'm a unique soul, what can I say? Alright, so the last prompt is prompt number 15, and it's what indie book is next on your TBR, and as you can see, so many of these I still need to read. There's so many books. Okay, there's so many books, but I'm going to say my new mental focus is I'm only focusing on the book I'm reading right now, because if I don't do that, then I get overwhelmed with the amount of books that I need to read and want to read, and so yes, there's so many of these that I want to read and need to read, but for right now I'm only focusing on the books that I am reading. And one of the books I put on my TBR for this month is The Rules and Regulations for Mediating Myths and Magic, and this is one that works for the Queer Lit Readathon prompts. and I will be picking it up this month because it works for like criminal justice and that. But okay, I talked about amazing covers, but this one is exceptionally amazing. The texture of it is like that fake leather feeling, and it's just, they nailed it. Also, the book has a ribbon, and I think every special edition book should have a ribbon. I think it should be a rule. It's simple. I don't know if it's simple to actually put into the book, but like, ribbons don't cost a lot, and they're just like, they level up any special edition. So this is the next one I plan to pick up. I hope you enjoyed this indie book tag. Or definitely go check out the original by Chelsea, who I'm linking below. I don't really know who to tag on this because I don't know who would even recognize me tagging them if I tag this, because my channel is still so new. So if you see this, you are tagged. And please go ahead and do this and tag me in your reply also, because I really want to see your videos and I really want to see the indie authors that you are excited about. And as always, keep writing, keep reading, and until next time.